My name is Michael, and if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have told you that my marriage was the most sacred, unshakable bond in my life. I believed in love. I believed in trust. And most of all, I believed in my wife, Sophia. She was the kind of woman you thought only existed in dreams, warm hazel eyes that seemed to understand you without words, laughter that could fill an empty room, and a presence that made me feel like I wasn't just a man, I was her man. We had been married for 7 years. 7 years of building a home, creating traditions, and surviving storms together. I remember on our wedding day, she held my hands and whispered, "It's you and me against the world, Michael. No matter what, I'm yours." Those vows, her words, were carved into my soul. I believed every syllable. But if life has taught me anything, it's this. Sometimes the people who promise you forever are the ones who cut you the deepest. It all started small, like shadows creeping into sunlight. Sophia wasn't the kind of woman to leave me guessing. She used to call me during her lunch breaks, just to check in. She used to light up when I walked through the door after work. She used to touch me, little gestures, like brushing my arm when she passed or slipping her hand into mine while we watched TV. But then, those little gestures began to fade. At first, I thought I was imagining it. I'd come home and find her scrolling on her phone, too distracted to notice me. Or I'd crack a joke, and instead of laughing, she'd just smile faintly and look away. She stopped asking me about my day. She stopped sharing hers. I told myself it was stress. Work had been heavy for both of us. She worked in marketing, and deadlines always seemed to consume her life. But deep down, I felt it. Something was changing. One evening, as I sat at the dining table finishing paperwork, I noticed Sophia's phone buzzing on the counter. She was in the shower. Normally, I wouldn't have cared. Trust was the foundation of our marriage, and I never believed in snooping. But that night, something made me look up. The name flashing on the screen wasn't familiar. Ethan. The message preview read, "Last night was unforgettable. I can still taste your lips." I froze. My pen slipped from my fingers and rolled across the floor, but I couldn't hear it. My entire body went cold. I told myself I must have misread it. Maybe it was just a joke. Maybe it was some inside office banter. But the words "taste your lips," they hit me like a hammer. I stared at that screen until the message disappeared, my heartbeat drumming so hard I thought Sophia would hear it from the shower. When she walked out, her hair damp and smelling of lavender, she smiled faintly at me and said, "Hey, you're still working?" As if nothing in the world was wrong. I forced a smile. Yeah, just finishing up. But inside, I wasn't finishing anything. I was just beginning a silent war with myself. Should I ask her? Should I confront her? Should I grab that phone and shove it in her face? I didn't. Not yet. Because here's the thing. I loved her. More than my pride. More than my anger. I wanted to believe there was some explanation, some misunderstanding. So instead, I started watching. Days passed, and I noticed things I had ignored before. Sophia began dressing differently for work. Not dramatically, but subtly, skirts a little shorter, lipstick a little bolder. She would hum while getting ready, something she hadn't done for me in months. And she guarded her phone like it was a piece of her soul, always face down on the table, always snatched up the moment it buzzed. I told myself, maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe I'm just insecure. But then came the night that changed everything. I had been working late and decided to surprise her. Sophia thought I was on a business trip out of town, but my meeting had been canceled last minute. So instead of checking into a hotel, I drove home, imagining her face lighting up when she saw me. I unlocked the front door quietly. The house was dim, except for the faint glow spilling from the living room. I heard music playing, soft, romantic music. My heart raced. Maybe she had planned something for me. Maybe she wanted to surprise me. But when I stepped into the hallway, I froze. There was laughter. Her laughter. But not alone. A man's voice was with hers, low, intimate, too comfortable. I inched closer, every step like walking through fire. And then I saw them. Sophia was sitting on the couch, legs tucked under her, her face glowing in the candlelight. Next to her was a man I'd never seen before, his arms stretched casually across the back of the couch, inches from her shoulder. They weren't kissing. Not yet. But their closeness, The way her body leaned toward his, the way she looked at him with the same sparkle she used to save only for me. It was enough. My breath caught in my throat, and before I could stop myself, the words spilled out. Sophia. She jolted as if she'd been burned, her eyes wide as they landed on me. The man stiffened, his jaw tightening. Michael? She whispered, her voice cracking with shock. I stepped fully into the room, my fists clenched, my whole world crashing around me. I wasn't supposed to be home tonight, I said, my voice low, trembling. But I guess fate wanted me to see this. The room fell into a heavy silence. Sophia's lips parted, her face pale, but no words came out. The man beside her shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between us. And in that moment, I realized the truth I had been too afraid to face. The vows we made, the promises whispered on our wedding day, they meant nothing to her anymore. My wife, the woman I gave my heart to, had broken everything for lust, and she had no idea what kind of storm she had just unleashed inside me. Because if she thought betrayal would break me, she was wrong. It would make me dangerous. Ending part 1. I looked at Sophia, my voice steady despite the fire raging inside me, and said, "You'll regret every kiss you ever gave him." The silence after my words felt like a storm holding its breath. Sophia stared at me, her lips trembling as if she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. The man beside her, Ethan, shifted uncomfortably, clearly wishing he were anywhere but in that room. Finally, Sophia spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Michael, it's not what it looks like." I let out a bitter laugh. "Not what it looks like. Really, Sophia? Then why don't you enlighten me? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like betrayal." Her eyes watered, but she quickly wiped the tears before they could fall. "I swear, nothing happened. We were just talking. Ethan's a friend from work. He was only here to—" "Don't." I cut her off, my voice sharp. "Don't insult me with lies. I saw the message, Sophia. Last night was unforgettable. I can still taste your lips. Do you deny that?" Her face went pale. The moment the words left my mouth, I knew she realized the truth. I had seen too much. She stammered, "Michael, I can explain." Ethan cleared his throat, standing up. "Look, maybe I should go." "Damn right you should." I snapped, my eyes locked on him. "And if you ever come near my wife again, you'll regret it." He didn't argue. He grabbed his coat and walked out without another word, leaving just the two of us in that suffocating room. The moment the door closed, Sophia broke down. She sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. "Michael, please. I made a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just once." Her words cut deeper than any knife. Just once. As if that made it any less of a betrayal. My chest tightened, and I struggled to breathe. "Once?" I repeated, my voice shaking with rage. "You broke our vows, Sophia. You gave yourself to another man, and you want me to believe it was a mistake? Do you have any idea what you've done to me? To us?" She looked up at me, her eyes red and desperate. "I still love you, Michael. I swear. It didn't mean anything. Ethan doesn't matter. You matter. Our marriage matters." I wanted to believe her. God, a part of me still wanted to hold her, to forgive her, to make this nightmare vanish. But another part, the darker, angrier part, couldn't let it go so easily. I turned away, pacing the room, my hands clenched into fists. If I mattered, Sophia, you wouldn't have kissed him. You wouldn't have let him touch you. Love isn't just words, it's actions. And your actions have destroyed everything. She stood slowly, reaching for me. "Michael, please. Don't give up on us. I'll do anything to fix this. Just don't walk away." I pulled back from her touch as if her hands burned me. "You already walked away the moment you let him have what was mine." Her lips quivered. "I didn't sleep with him, I swear." I cut her off again, my voice raw. "And you expect me to believe that? After the message I saw? After the way you looked at him tonight? Sophia, you don't just accidentally let another man taste your lips. You chose this. You chose him over me." She broke down again, her sobs echoing in the living room. For a moment, I stood there, torn between love and rage. But then something inside me hardened. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to hit walls or throw things. But you need to understand something, Sophia. You've unleashed something in me tonight. You think you can betray me, then cry your way back into my arms? No. Her tears froze as she looked at me, fear flashing in her eyes. I'm not leaving you, and yet, underneath all the pain, something else began to form. A plan. If Sophia thought she could shatter me and get away with it, she was wrong. I wasn't going to walk away like some defeated man. No, I was going to stay. I was going to make her think I might forgive her, that maybe we could rebuild. And while she clung to that hope, I would show her exactly what betrayal felt like. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen, where she sat at the table, her eyes swollen from crying. She looked up at me with a fragile smile. Michael, can we talk? I poured myself a cup of coffee without looking at her. We'll talk, but not now. Not until I'm ready. She swallowed hard. I'll do anything, Michael. I'll cut Ethan out of my life. I'll prove to you that I'm sorry. I finally turned, meeting her desperate gaze. You will prove it, Sophia, but not the way you think. Her brows furrowed in confusion. What do you mean? I leaned closer, my voice low, filled with venom. You'll find out soon enough. Her face drained of color, and I walked away, leaving her sitting there in silence, trembling, because she had no idea what was coming. Ending part 2. She thought the worst was over, but little did Sophia know, I was just getting started. The days that followed felt like walking through a battlefield littered with invisible landmines. Sophia tried desperately to win me back, hovering around me, cooking my favorite meals, forcing smiles, and begging me to sit with her and talk. But every time she looked at me, all I saw was him. Ethan. The man who had taken what was mine. I didn't yell. I didn't throw accusations. Instead, I was calm. Too calm. And that scared her more than anything. I noticed the way her eyes followed me nervously as I moved around the house. I noticed the way she hesitated before picking up her phone, as though worried I might catch another glimpse of her secret. And I noticed something else, too. Her story wasn't lining up. She said it was just one kiss. Just a mistake. But her lies had holes in them. Why did Ethan message her about last night if it was just once? Why was he comfortable enough to sit on our couch, with candles lit and music playing? No. There was more, and I was going to uncover it. So I began my own quiet investigation. One afternoon, I told Sophia I was heading to the gym. Instead, I drove to her office. I parked across the street, watching the entrance like a hawk. Hours passed, but my patience was rewarded. At around 6 p.m., long after most employees had left, I saw her. She walked out of the building, her coat wrapped tightly around her shoulders. And right behind her was Ethan. They didn't touch, not in public. But the way they walked side by side, the closeness between them, it was clear. They weren't strangers. They weren't just colleagues. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Rage burned through me. But I forced myself to stay calm. I couldn't explode yet. No, I needed proof. The next day, while Sophia was in the shower, I did what I swore I'd never do. I unlocked her phone. She had grown careless, too busy trying to convince me of her innocence. Her passcode was the same as always. Our anniversary date. My hands shook as I opened her messages. And there it was. A thread with Ethan. Dozens of messages. Ethan, I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was perfect. Sophia, stop it. Someone could see this. Ethan, you didn't seem worried when you were in my arms. Sophia, Michael is suspicious. We have to be careful. My chest tightened, bile rising in my throat. Every word felt like another stab. She hadn't just kissed him. She hadn't just slipped once. She had been lying to me, over and over. Scrolling further, I found pictures. Nothing explicit, but enough. Smiling selfies of them together at a bar. Her leaning into him, his arm around her. She looked happy, happier than she'd looked with me in months. My hands shook, but I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. Instead, I put it back exactly where I found it, because now I had what I needed, the truth. That night, Sophia tried again. She cooked lasagna, my favorite. She poured me a glass of wine, her eyes pleading as she sat across from me. Michael, please, talk to me. Don't shut me out. I looked at her calm, almost detached. Do you love him? Her fork clattered against the plate. W what? No, of course not. Don't lie to me, Sophia. I'm not, she insisted, her voice cracking. It was a mistake. I swear to you, Ethan doesn't mean anything. You're my husband. You're the man I love. I leaned back, studying her, my lips curling into a bitter smile. Funny, because he seems to think you love him. He seems to think you're his. Her face drained of color. You went through my phone? I did, I admitted coldly. And now I know the truth. You didn't just kiss him once. You've been seeing him for weeks, maybe months, sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face every single day. And all the while, you let me believe we still had a marriage worth saving. She broke down, tears streaming down her cheeks. Michael, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely. You were working so much, always so busy, and Ethan, he was just there. He listened to me. He made me feel wanted again. Her words sliced me open. He made me feel wanted again. Was I not enough? Was my love not enough? You disgust me, I said quietly, my voice shaking with rage I barely contained. I gave you everything, Sophia. My love, my trust, my loyalty. And you threw it all away for what? A few stolen kisses in the dark? A man who will never love you the way I did? She crawled toward me, grabbing my hand, her tears wetting my skin. Please, Michael, don't give up on us. I'll end it with Ethan, I swear. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me. For a moment, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to imagine we could fix this. But then I remembered the messages, the pictures, the way she looked at him. I pulled my hand away. It's too late. You've already killed us. Her sobs grew louder, echoing through the house. I turned and walked out of the room, my heart heavy, my mind consumed with rage. But as I climbed the stairs, a dark thought crept into my mind. Maybe I couldn't forgive her. Maybe I couldn't forget, but I could make her pay. She thought betrayal was something you could cry your way out of. She thought her tears would soften me, that my love would blind me. But she was wrong, because love was gone, and all that was left was revenge. Ending part 3. That night, as I lay awake beside her, I whispered to myself, she thinks she broke me. She has no idea what's coming next. I watched her breathe in the dark and hated how natural it sounded, how peaceful, as if nothing had ruptured her world. Sophia's sobs had quieted to soft, guilty breaths. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and something else I couldn't name. The scent of betrayal, of memories turned sour. For days I'd been two men at once. One part of me ached for the woman who used to kiss the top of my head while we watched late-night movies. The other part was a cold, methodical thing I barely recognized, an architect of pain who began drawing plans in the silence between our words. That night I climbed out of bed, careful not to wake her, and sat at the kitchen table with a blank sheet of paper and a pen. I wrote down everything: dates, messages, the times she claimed to be at work and the times she wasn't, faces, places, small details I could use. I was not an angry man ready to explode. I was a strategist. If she wanted me to feel her pain, I would make sure whatever I did would be precise. No reckless outbursts. No cheap theatrics. I wanted the kind of regret that settled in bones. Not just for a night, but for years. The next morning I woke early and went about the motions of an ordinary husband. I made coffee, kissed her forehead, and acted like everything might be salvageable. Sophia flinched at the touch, but she didn't pull away. Maybe she had hope. Maybe she believed the promise I kept making myself, that I wasn't going anywhere. I began small. I called her friends, casually, under the pretense of checking in. I asked about work, about office parties, about colleagues. No one suspected anything. Sophia had cultivated an image of the perfect wife. Quiet, composed. A woman who didn't gossip or flirt. Ethan was a phantom to the rest of the world. To them, he was just a coworker. Next, I started leaving little things in places she'd notice. A receipt from a hotel I'd never been to, a text message I'd fabricated about meeting a woman for drinks, tiny seeds of doubt that would prick her like thorns. I watched her stomach clench when she saw them. She asked in that breathless, pleading way she had when she wanted to be forgiven, and I would answer with an unreadable face. "Who's Madison?" she asked once, holding the fake receipt between trembling fingers. I sipped my coffee, meeting her eyes. A client from a new account. Why? She dropped the piece of paper as if it burned her. Michael, don't do that. At night, we spoke less. The silence between us swelled with things unsaid. My revenge was not public. I didn't confront Ethan in the street or vandalize his car. I wanted something quieter, corrosive, something that would leave her second-guessing her choices until they ate her alive. 1 week into my quiet war, Sophia came to me with a new plan: counseling. She had scheduled an appointment and begged me to go, said she needed help to understand why she did what she did. She used the word "we" in a way that made my chest ache with possibilities. "Please," she said, hands clasped, eyes raw. "This isn't just about me. I want our marriage to survive. I'll do anything." I paused. The strategist inside me weighed the options. A therapy room was a controlled environment, a place where her lies would be parsed and laid bare. But it was also a public stage where she could rehearse contrition and sway a counselor's sympathy. I decided to accept, for now. Part of the plan required me to appear willing to save us. That would bait her into complacency. We went together to the first session. The counselor was middle-aged, gentle, and the kind of person who handed out tissues like they were candies. Sophia cried easily in front of her, recounting lonely nights and unmet emotional needs. She painted our marriage as a ship that had drifted apart. Her voice trembled as she said, "I just felt unseen." I listened. I kept my face an unreadable mask. The counselor, who'd seen hundreds of marriages fray, asked the obvious question: "Did an affair happen?" Sophia nodded, then reached for my hand with shaking fingers, as if she couldn't bear to stand alone with the truth. "I'm sorry," she said, voice small. "I betrayed you, but I want to make it right." The counselor turned to me, waiting. The man in me who had once been all love felt the old instincts to protect and to forgive alive, if only for a flicker. I gave the answer I had rehearsed 1,000 times in the mirror. "I don't know if forgiveness is possible," I said quietly, "but I'm willing to try for now." Sophia sobbed into the crook of my arm. I let the tears touch my sleeve and tasted salt that belonged to someone else. I hugged her back, feeling the betrayal like a stone in my chest. It was the most dangerous kind of intimacy, pretend healing used as camouflage. After the session, as we walked to the car, Sophia looped her arm through mine and whispered, "Thank you. I love you, Michael. I'll prove it." Her whisper smelled like old perfume and fresh lies. That night, while she slept, I did something I had promised myself I wouldn't. I called Ethan. My hands trembled as I typed the number I'd found on her phone. The line rang. He answered the first ring, voice smooth and unsuspecting. "Ethan, it's Michael." A pause, then a charged, almost curious tone. "This is about Sophia. You stay away from my wife," I said, my voice cold as winter. "You stay away, or there will be consequences." He laughed, a short, disrespectful sound. "Seriously? You and what army?" The laugh was a slap. I told him where to meet me. I don't know why I did it. Maybe to scare him. Maybe to draw him out. Maybe I wanted to understand the man who had made my wife smile like she used to. Maybe, at some base level, I wanted to see his fear. He showed up an hour later, swaggering, sunglasses on, pretending not to be nervous. When he stood there, I studied him. He wasn't a villain from a movie. He was ordinary. He was younger than me, a little cocky, with a charm honed by casual conquests. I felt nothing but contempt. "You promised to stay away," I said. He smirked. "Sophia wanted me. She made her choices." "What do you want?" I asked. He shrugged. "What any man wants. To be wanted." The exchange should have been the spark for something ugly. But instead of a fight, a plan formed. If Ethan thought he could intimidate me, he was wrong. If he thought he could display his conquest like a trophy, he was wrong. He would be a tool in a larger machine. I let him walk away that night, but not before I made him a proposal he couldn't refuse, one I would later use to tighten the screws on Sophia's world. He would come to a hotel under the guise of meeting someone else, be recorded, be made to look like the predator he was. It was a reckless move, but I'd learned that sometimes the only way to make someone truly regret is to remove the safe space they hide in. As I watched Ethan leave, I felt something unexpected, a thrill, not from malice alone, but from control, the intoxicating knowledge that I was no longer a victim. I had become the force reshaping our fate. Back home, in the dark, Sophia turned toward me and whispered in her sleep, "Michael, please don't let me go." I lay there and watched her, the plan already clicking into place. Love, I realized, had been our house, and betrayal had been the fire. But I was the arsonist now, and I would choose where the flames licked. Ending part 4. The next morning, I set the trap, and by sunset, everything Sophia thought she could hide would be on display. The morning after meeting Ethan, I woke with a strange calm. My decision was made. No more half measures. No more pretending we could glue this shattered thing back together. It was time for Sophia to face the full weight of what she had done. She was humming in the kitchen when I walked downstairs. For a moment, I paused in the hallway, watching her move around like everything was normal, like she hadn't dragged our vows through the dirt. She wore that soft pink sweater I had once loved on her, and for a split second, I remembered the woman I had married. But the memory only sharpened the knife twisting inside me. "Morning," she said softly when she noticed me. Her eyes searched mine, nervous but hopeful. "I made pancakes. Your favorite." I sat at the table, my voice steady. "Sophia, we need to talk tonight. Don't make any plans." Her hands stilled, the spatula trembling slightly. "Oh, okay. About what?" "You'll see," I said flatly. All day at work, I prepared. I had the texts, the pictures, the proof. I had Ethan's compliance too. He thought this was a game, that I was trying to outmaneuver him. He didn't realize he was just a pawn. That evening, I set everything up. I invited Sophia to the living room. The lights were dim. My laptop sat open on the coffee table. She entered cautiously, her fingers twisting in the hem of her sweater. "Michael, you're scaring me." "Good," I said. "You should be." I hit play. The screen lit up with the messages she thought she had deleted. Every word, every stolen moment with Ethan, projected in black and white. Her breath hitched, her hands flying to her mouth. "Michael, please." I cut her off with a gesture. "No, you don't get to speak. Not yet." The pictures appeared next. Her smile next to Ethan's, her head resting against his shoulder. Each image was a dagger, and I watched her flinch as though she felt the cuts too. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I never meant." "You never meant?" My voice rose for the first time, sharp and loud. "You meant every kiss, every touch, every lie you whispered when you crawled into my bed afterward. Don't insult me by saying you didn't mean it." She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably. "Michael, I love you. I swear I was lost. I made a mistake, but it's you I want. Always you." I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "You don't get to decide that anymore." And then came the final blow. I turned the screen to show her a video. Ethan, sitting in a hotel lobby, talking too freely after a few drinks I'd bought him. "She thinks she's playing me, but it's the other way around." Ethan chuckled in the video. "Sophia's fun, but she's not the type you settle with. Honestly, she's pathetic. Always crying about her husband, always needing attention. She begged me to make her feel alive. I gave her what she wanted." Sophia's scream filled the room. She clutched her chest, shaking her head in disbelief. "No, no, he wouldn't. Michael, please, you have to believe me. He doesn't mean that." I stepped closer, towering over her. "That's who you threw me away for. A man who used you like a toy. That's the kind of man you chose over your husband." Her sobs turned into gasps, her body curling into itself like she was trying to disappear. "I was wrong. God, I was so wrong." I crouched down, forcing her to